The OG Tier 10 Mercenary Heavy, the machine finally received its first buff. The tank was strong when it first came out, but over time other tanks received buffs and some of them received multiple buffs, which results in this tank become power crept and weaker. And even now or before the buff, I would say the tank was balanced because it had that unique ability to rotate very quickly and decent frontal armor as long as your track wasn't exposed, and you can dump that quick or dump the quick very quickly. So it was still not bad. I like the tank, especially if there's no one more experienced on the enemy team. Yeah, if there's someone experienced, I struggle to perform. And the buff isn't that great. We'll go over the buff first. The turret rotation speed from 32 to 36, reload improvement from 28 to 26.4, and then penetration buff for standard shells from 248 to 255. If it was up to me, I would like to see the party wagon's gun on machine, which has 360 alpha. Of course, you keep the same clip size and slightly better shell velocity. And I say the same for TVP as well, because party wagon gun just feels better. So this buff by itself doesn't seem too strong or made this tank from balance or maybe slightly weaker in some situation to overpowered. However, with the sneak peek they gave about the upcoming skills, consumable and equipment changes, machine might be one of the tank that won't suffer as much because of the smaller alpha. It has decent gun handling, and second, the auto loader tanks, they don't suffer as much from lack of DPM. I think I was calculating you suffer about 19% reduction in DPM, especially if you are a single shot tank. But the auto loaders, they mainly rely on your clip, which doesn't get affected, and machine will play the same while other tanks suffer. So the combination of both this buff and the potential changes coming to the equipment skills can make machine a strong tank, but as it stands now, it is balanced. I do like how you can rotate around, and if I'm facing a newer or inexperienced player, I can actually do pretty well in machine because I won't expose my tracks as much, or they'll shoot my turret and then I'll peek whenever they're reloading. And you can dump that clip quickly. And also when you're playing in platoon, you can make those aggressive pushes because of that speed. It does have that 50B hull and it moves very fast, 67 speed. One of the fastest heavy tank, I would say. But as I said, if you see some of the other mercenary like Rogel and Lehman, it cannot make much of an impact. But we'll have to see how it behaves. I have hope, I have faith, because in the current meta the autoloaders were suffering because of the high DPM of single shot tanks. Autoloaders will have a reload of like closer to 3 seconds, or some of the autoloaders, and then you'll have mediums. Once you activate food, you'll be loading in close to 5 or close to 6 seconds, and you just can't beat them. And with this DPM change, all of the autoloaders will benefit, and that's where the machine will receive some of its passive buffs as well, along with what it received now. Another thing I would like to change about machine, it's the camo. I feel these teeth are very ugly camo. I don't like it. I would like a plain camo option if possible. But other than that, I like the playstyle. It's like a Murat, where you have the gun depression. Of course, it's a heavy, so it doesn't have a camo, but you have the gun depression and you have the quick clip potential to dump 1280 in 4.5 seconds. And that's pretty good, right? Because usually, especially with this buff, a lot of autoloaders also suffered the interclip buff. They went from, some of them went from 2.5 to 2.8, like Murat and 50B, and even T57 interclip was increased from 2 to 2.2 not that long ago. Of course, we have the Waffle that got the interclip buff, but overall, a lot of the autoloaders, they suffer, or the ones that had faster interclip, this received nerf, but machine didn't. It still maintained its interclip, and I think that's going to be what separates it from other autoloaders. And then those single shot tanks, not as strong, will help bring back some of the machine's dominance. And even now when you're playing in platoon, your platoon mates can help you. You can still kind of trade, right? You can use your HP as your armor and then still use that gun. And the heat 310 is not that great, but if you're playing up close, you can still pen all the tanks. It is when you're playing at range that slow shell velocity is punishing. And that's what I don't like about machine, is whenever I'm sniping, in a heavy tank you shouldn't, right? But sometimes you have to. The APCR shell velocity is low and heat is just terrible. Heat is just terrible. But if you're fighting up close, which is mostly possible when you're in platoon, that is not much of an issue. And as I said, I'm looking forward to those changes and how machine will perform when those happens. And it is also one of those contracts tank. It's not a premium that you can buy. And these days, sometimes a contract comes out, and if you miss it, it might not come out for another 2 or 3 years. At least that's what I feel like. Because we have so many tanks, we have so many contracts, and now contracts are also used for premium tanks. So it is, you have to grab the chance to get this tank, because you're not going to buy it. There's not going to be a massive sale where you can just purchase the tank. And the contract, it's not as hard as it used to be because you can use boosters, multiple tanks. But the availability is what makes this tank unique. If you don't have it, I would suggest grab it when the contract becomes available again. Because why not, right? Why not? You earn mercenary tanks or contracts just by playing. For example, when you're grinding other tank, you just get these tanks additional as a free reward. Of course, they don't have earning bonus, but no tier 10 does, except Vigilante. But even Lehman or Nemesis or Rogaldorn, those are tier 10 premium, and this is a mercenary. But there's no difference because there's no extra earning. And it's just a tag, right? Tier 10 premium is just a special tag. But those are easier to get because those might become available to purchase multiple times during the year until the license expires. But machine, of course, there's no license, but you just never know when it's gonna be earnable again. So never miss out on the opportunity. So the first game I was in Overlord, we got 62 and then managed to get behind this Panzer. That's the thing I love about Overlorders. You get that first clip where you can dump that damage, and then the last clip where you can get additional like 1000, 1200 damage. I was trying to be sneaky, trying to ram Panzer, but that was a mistake. Never ram a Yag. Never ram a Yag. I have lost most of my health, but at this time I was just ramming enough where I can track him so I can get some track. A little bit tap, a little bit love tap. But I was able to reload and wrap up the game with 7700 damage. And the reason I was able to play this aggressive, as I said, is because I was in platoon and we were able to trade when we were pushing the 9 line. And this was more of a normal map or a regular sized map. Now we're in a town because that's what you wonder. Well, the tank doesn't have armor. Can I brawl? Can I brawl with this tank? It doesn't have armor. I'm just gonna lose it. It is useless. I don't like to play this tank in a town map. Well, that's not the case. You just have to time it, and that's what I was saying. The tank is not bad because most of the players are not that great, and you just have to time. Whenever they fire, you can dump your entire clip. For most of the auto-loaders, you might take another shot, or you might not be able to dump your clip when if they shoot you once and you peek to clip. But for machine, you'll always get an opportunity to dump your entire clip. And as you can see, I kind of parked at an angle where they can't hit my inside track, and if they hit my outside track, it won't pen me. So diagonally exposing is a little bit better in machine. Both those tanks fired. Unlucky for me, they retreated back. They were scared. They were scared, and because of these windows or doors, I'm a little bit worried here. But another medium, the 430, well, that's a bad tank. He peeked. He thought he can bully the machine. Well, 430, you cannot. He missed his first opportunity because of the poorly aimed shot, right? So if enemy is shooting standard and they don't aim their shots, that's where the armor is somewhat reliable. Or I would say the TD won't bounce, but for medium, especially for mediums and for some heavies, you can definitely bounce shots or poorly aimed shots at your hull and get away with it. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Whenever someone comes, if you're loaded, even if they pen, you will outtrade them. So just position yourself in such a way that even if you take damage, you can unleash the clip. So far as you can see, I'm just waiting for them to fire using my teammate. It's a support heavy. Most of the heavies are support, but I'm using those opportunity. It is not even a support heavy. It is more like a medium tank. It excels at fighting against other mediums. But when you're in a lane, yeah, you have that gun, you have the 1000+ clip potential, but you have to let your heavies engage and then you use that opportunity. You can think of it as playing a Tehran frontline. You don't have any armor, but you can use that alpha once the enemy fire. Our heavy tanks going forward, we are losing both on HP as well as tanks, but our Valor pushed and I have to push with him so we can clip these guys. Unfortunately I missed, or my shell went low, missed my heat shell. I would have liked to keep focus on the first I-7, but the second one peeked around the corner. I do kill him, which is great, but unfortunately I ended up taking a shot from this I-7. I'm waiting for my reload to complete and also the I-7 to fire once my reload is complete so I can peek and not take any additional damage. And he did fire here. That's a 1 pen. Unfortunately this Valor peaked and I wasn't able to do more damage to I-7, but at least we secured a kill, which is much more important at this time as we're losing on HP and the number of tanks as we're going forward. Our team, they're about to cross. There are multiple tanks. I see a E75 and wanted to clip him. Unfortunately I only had 3 shells, but luckily our E5 managed to, or CC Mark II managed to finish that E75, but other tanks received some damage because they have tanks at E3. So I don't really want to cross as I won't have any camo and I will get spotted and get punished because they have a firing squad and we can already see 2 or 3 tanks actually, but there are more because they have won every other side and they're wrapping around us to kill us. So just waiting for reload. I expect them to come from the back side. We do have light tank that's still alive and we have a Batchat. He finally managed to, he gets spotted, he fired once. I missed 1 shot unfortunately. Both of us are reloading, but I know I'll out reload the Batchat. It's a quick reload for a auto loader. Not as quick I guess T57, but still I consider it a quick in most situations. And I don't feel out of battle for too long like you feel with the Batchat. AT60 struggle to pen against that tank, even when it was tier 10, tier 9. Well, there's no armor change, but still. So Batchat trying to run away. I am chasing him. You cannot outrun the machine, Bat. You cannot outrun the machine. He goes down. Now it is 4v6. I'm gonna reload again. However, only 864 HP remaining. If we can hold the angles, there is still hope. However, the enemy team, they have a T249 which can just jump our light tank and send him back to garage because no light tank can handle a 249, and that's what's happening. He is chasing our Panzer wagon and also chasing our hopes away to win the match. The T95, he pushed forward along with the Rhino. If we had the outlines, I would have penned more shots. Unfortunately, but at least lucky for me, the Rhino is out. Now it's 2v5. Our CC Mark II, he's holding that angle. And Ruthless peeks around, shoots Hash, didn't pen me. The CC Mark II was playing well and bought enough time for me to force a reload and then kill the Ruthless. They do have the light tank, that's the only one that has speed. I can outrun every other tank. So even after I bounced my first shot, aimed the rest of my shots so I could run away 1v4. It was 1v5. So a potential Colobanos. I was worried when I'm running away that light's gonna just clip me in less than a second, probably in 0.2 seconds. As long as he sees me, he's gonna delete me, and that's what happened. I get spotted and yep, I just like went around. I'm turning so I can face his face towards him. He runs away. I'm still reloading, otherwise I could have at least killed him. I managed to pen him once. Very, very lucky that I didn't die over there. And at this point I'm thinking, should I wait? Because the light is going to come back. But if I don't run away, then the heavies or the TDs will close. And as I was turning around, what do we have? A waffle. I could have killed him. I penned the 1 shot, missed the second or bounce, and didn't get a chance to put the 3rd one in. But I could have potentially killed him. So that's how you play machine in a small town map and still do well. So thanks for watching. Do let me know in comments what you think about this tank and if you have it and how do you play it. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.